I'm feeling fancy today. All right, welcome to Not So Classy with eSNa. It is our 40th episode. Yay, we finally made it to 40. And in celebration of that, I have a fancy background for those of you guys who are watching on YouTube. And if not, you should go to YouTube and watch it because I have my hair and makeup done today. It took a while to get to episode 40 because I took a short break because I was focusing more on my music stuff for a while. So it had been about 2 months that I took a break, and then I did my episode with Min from Miss A, and then I kind of kickstarted it off so that I'm doing the podcast once again, and it feels great to be back in the studio with my team here. I was releasing a single every month since April. So I have 3 singles out now. The first single was called 우린 다시 사랑할 수 있을까? Could we fall in love again? And that song is a ballad that I had written about maybe 6 years ago. I don't know. All these songs I feel like I wrote maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago. And so the project name that I put for these songs that are being released is called Hanpuri. And so in Korean, we have this word called Han. Until this day, there is still not an equivalent word in English that can completely translate what that means. And I guess if I try to explain it, it's the emotion or feeling of sadness, loss, anger, and pent up past traumas. Like all of that into one word is what Han is. And Puri means to release that. And so my project name is Hanpuri Project, which is a series where I'm releasing music that I couldn't release over the past 10 years or however many years that I wrote, but for whatever reason, I was unable to release them officially and have people listen to them. So that's how this project started. And the first song was Could We Fall in Love Again? It is out on all music platforms, so you can listen to it all over the world. It's on Spotify, Apple Music, and Melon in Korea, Bugs, all that stuff. So if you guys are interested, please go and check that one out. It's a song about asking yourself if you would ever be able to fall in love with a past love. And I think, especially for women, I think there's always a moment in time where we kind of wonder that. 내가 헤어졌던 나의 첫사랑, 특히나 첫사랑이랑, especially with our first love, would we be able to fall in love with that person again as people we are now? Because we're very different from when we were in that relationship that long ago, especially for me, because I was, 17, 18 years old when I had my first love experience, and now I'm, 34. So if I were to meet him again, now as an adult, knowing all these things, being as mature as I am now, would we still fall for each other and would we still fall in love with one another? But in the end, in the song, it says that I know that we can't. And I'm just thankful for what we had. I guess I could sing a little bit for you guys. There is an English version and a Korean version, so you guys can understand the song completely. I always forget my lyrics. Hold on. So the song goes, or maybe it would have been better if I hadn't loved you at all. I loved you, but it's all in the past now. These memories I will cherish. I know that you and our paths will never cross again. That's Could We Fall in Love Again? There's an English version and a Korean version, so you guys should check both of it out because the feeling is a little bit different. I think when I relay things in Korean, it translates a little bit different from when I'm relaying things in English. And so I always want to put out my songs in one or more languages so that you can kind of see the broadness of how the emotions can be translated in different languages. So that was the first song of my Hanpuri project. And the second song, I actually had given a teaser during Sleepy's episode. And it's called 사랑하고 싶어, I Want to Be in Love. And this is a very jazzy song. It's very upbeat. It's a very spring weather, fresh feeling kind of song. And it was such a treat to produce this song because I was able to feel like I was back in my college days when I was really into jazz music and studying jazz. And all of the instrumentation is real. I hired a pianist who was in San Francisco and a guitar player that was in LA, and the drum and bass I went to go get the sessions in Korea. So it was all live instruments. And speaking in that music terminology and all of that was something that I hadn't done in a really long time, looking at sheet music, calling out chords, calling out hits. And that was really fun and nostalgic for me. So that song producing process was something that made me feel, oh man, like I'm back in college, like I'm a real musician. Like I kind of forgot that for a while. So that song was really fun. I actually really wanted to do that song in French. And ultimately, I was unable to do it. So there's only a Korean version out. But one of these days, I am going to get the lyrics translated and just kind of maybe put it as like one of the songs that is in like a mini album or something. But I do want to release it in French. So if any of you guys are out there and you guys want to help me like translate the lyrics into French, please hit me up because I really want to put out a French version. And you would know why once you listen to this song. This song has a very kind of French, kind of cool, kind of romantic vibe. And that song goes, 사랑하고 싶어 이제는 사랑하고 싶어 하지만 너무 오래돼서 사랑을 어떻게 하나 기억이 가물가물하네 그래서 너가 필요하네 하필 너를 좋아해서 불안불안하네. That is my jazzy song that I put out in May. And in June, the most recent release that I had was a song called Napanzig Playboy. And that song I had actually released on YouTube and had a pseudo music video for it. And actually, one of my guests, we talked about it, Robin Diana, he was the Napanzig in the music video. It's still up, but we actually ended up shooting an official music video for it. It was like a one take kind of unedited feeling, that kind of music video. And we shot that. And, you know, I decided to keep both of it up because it's so different. And I think the old one is still it's kind of classic. Like actually in that music video, I'm wearing this shirt. That's so funny. I didn't even realize that. So yeah, check out both of them. Again, all the songs are available on all of the music platforms. But Napanzig, I kind of wanted, you know, people to dance to it a little bit because it's kind of like a reggae feel pop song. And I Want to Be in Love. Obviously, the lyrics, I think, speak for itself. It's just me wanting to be in love and what kind of actions I would want a guy to do. So I'm like laying it all out. So I'm like, if I have a song about what I would want to do with a guy and what I think would be romantic if a guy acted or behaved this way to me, then it's like a manual. It's like easy for the guys to approach me then because they know what I want now. So that's, you know, the kind of a cute song that I have. And then Napanzig is like, you're such a fuckboy. Like, you know, you shouldn't be treating girls this way. And but then I always kind of fall for the bad ones because the nicer ones are not always so fun. And so I'm always attracted to the bad boys and that type of song. So the hook is really catchy. It's anyone can sing it. It's just 나쁜 자식, 나쁜 자식, 나쁜 자식 이끌린다. 나쁜 자식, 나쁜 자식, 나쁜 자식 왜 끌릴까? So for Napanzig music video, as I explained before, it was a one take concept. And we had 3 different outfits and 3 different sets. And so the first one was I was like a boss lady in a white suit, and I was in like an office, and actually had taken my dog Yoda on set. So he was just like running around. And he didn't make it as a cameo into the music video, but he is in the making, the BTS behind the scenes clip that is also out. The second one was like straight up in like a alleyway kind of set. I was wearing like this neon jean jacket that the stylist had torn up. Like the shorts were torn up, the top was torn up. Like during the fitting, literally they were coming to me with scissors and just cutting away. And I was like, are you sure that's gonna be okay? But they like frilled it and like turned it into something really cool. I was wearing like neon green chains and yeah, so that was really fun. But that one take was the longest one take. So we had to enter into the alleyway and then move through a fence. And then I was walking into a car. And the whole thing had to be timed perfectly. And I needed to be lip syncing right the whole time. So that one take, I think, was literally like half the song. And so if one thing was off, if like something on the set fell down, then we would have to take it all the way from the beginning again. And if we almost made it to the end of the car scene and I'm in the car and I just have to come out, but the people who were moving the car, because it had to look like we were driving somewhere. So we had staff literally like bouncing the car in the back to make it look like the car was moving. But if their head showed or if they like walked into the frame, all of the stuff that we shot in the beginning didn't matter. We had to go back and shoot it again. And so that was a huge challenge for me when we were filming, because it didn't matter if I looked good the whole time. Like if one thing was off in the back and it wasn't even my fault, we would have to shoot it all over again. And the last scene, or the last set that we had, was very simple. It was just lights behind me, and my outfit was like a diva performance outfit, and it was a performance scene. So I just had like a standing mic, and we just shot while I was kind of lip syncing the song as if I was on stage. And so I definitely had like a Shakira, Beyonce, Rihanna vibe going on. And even that outfit, when the stylist first bought it, it was just a plain black jumpsuit. And if you go and watch the music video, you're like, that was not a plain black jumpsuit. They really did a lot of hard work, beaded everything, sewed everything. They also did a lot of cutting on me while I was wearing it as well. And so it looked very glamorous in the end. But again, we're on the last scene and we're shooting, and you know, the camera guy is like moving in and out. But if the focus goes off at one point of the music part, then we can't use that clip. So we shot for honestly not that long, maybe less than 12 hours, maybe like 9 or 10 hours. But in the end, when you're looking through all the clips, you can only use ultimately like one of the clips. That's like the perfect clip that we got from beginning to end. And so there was a lot of compromise that I had to make, because there were other takes that I knew that I looked better or that I performed better, but there was something else that was off that made that clip unusable. It happened for each set. So I was kind of frustrated, and I was like, maybe we should just edit it, you know, but then we didn't have enough footage to make an edited music video. There was a point when I was like, should we just not even put it out? Like it got to that point, but you know, we spent all this money and it wasn't half bad. So, and we're like, no, we decided to put a music video out, so we should put something out. And so that is the result that is out on eSNa the Singer, which is my official artist channel. All of the songs and the music videos or the lyric videos that I have for the past 3 songs that I was talking about are all on there. So you guys should definitely check it out. And I also have behind the scenes making footage on eSNa the Person's channel. So if you guys want to see the process of how the music was made or how the videos were shot, you guys can definitely check that out on this channel as well. So yeah, it took about 2 months or 2.5 months for me to kind of get all the stuff together, produce all the songs, record them, and all that stuff. So that's the reason why I took about a 2-month break. I plan on releasing more music And I do have things in line. I have a couple cool featurings in line, and I'm really excited to share that with you guys. So it is a challenge for me to kind of juggle the podcast and my music at the same time. But now that I kind of have the project kind of going and like the music stuff going, I can actually kind of juggle it back and forth. So I'm hoping to just pop out more podcasts for you. And I'm at a point where now, as an artist, you have to start wondering, do we have any more money to put out more music? And this is real talk. We put out 3 singles, and the singles themselves, depending on who you work with, the amount of money that you spend on an album can vary very widely, actually. But it also depends on how much investment do you have and how much power does the company have in order to use that money for your album and not any other artist in the same company as you, and just kind of have the money for you. And so, yeah, talking about finances is a very touchy subject, but I'll talk about it. Let's talk about the finance differences in all the different songs that I put out. The first one, 우린 다시 사랑할 수 있을까? Could we fall in love again? I didn't have to pay for the song because I wrote it. And that's actually a huge cut of something that you need to pay for, because you're not spending money on that. And sometimes a lot of these singers or idol groups or whatnot, they all spend so much money on just buying a song. And that song can cost anywhere from I think a minimum of 5K to maybe like 50, 60, 100K. It depends on the popularity and the demand of that producer, and not just the producer, but the lyricist and all that stuff. So for me, I obviously didn't have to spend money on the songs itself. So that was a huge save on our end. But there is also the recording fee, which is renting a studio to go and record it in. So for some of these bigger companies, they have their own built-in studios at their own company, so they don't have to pay for that. They just kind of pay for the engineer. And even that, though, gets, budgeted towards the artist. So our company doesn't have that, so we had to go and outsource our recording studio. So we went to Tup Studio, where actually a lot of artists go and record their songs. And it's by Hanpuri. That's how we define a certain amount of time, which is 1 slot, which is 3.5 hours. I think for a singer, depending on also how long you take as an artist or whatnot, but generally speaking, for one song, they'll probably use about 2 of those sessions. So 2% 정도를 쓰겠죠. But the recording studio fee is also something you have to consider. And then you also have to tune your melody, tune your songs. And I don't think people know that that's a thing that all artists go through. Depending on how you want your sound, how much tuning goes into your sound, especially for a studio recorded album, you go and record and you sing on pitch as much as you can as an artist. And then the tuning process is where you sit with an engineer and you go through the whole song a cappella to hear how perfectly on pitch you are. And so for, let's say, a dance song, you want it to be perfectly on pitch. Or depending on what kind of artist you are, the level of exactness to the pitch that you want, it changes and it varies. So for me, certain songs, I will want the song to sound very natural. So I'll ask them not to tune my song too much. And it's okay if I sound a little flat here or a little sharp here. And sometimes I would want that purposely done for the 분위기 of the song, for the overall atmosphere and the vibe of the song. But that costs money. That's a separate fee from just a recording studio. So that costs money. And then we move on to the sessions. If your song has live instrumentation, each person playing an instrument needs to get paid. And that varies very drastically. It can be someone amazing or someone super famous, but if you're close to them, maybe they'll give you a discount. So you never really know how much, but there is kind of like a base rate amongst, I think, Korean session players. And so especially for a song like I Want to Be in Love, my second song that I released through this project, it was all live instrumentation. And so that production fee cost a little bit more than, let's say, the other 2 songs that I put, because I didn't have to pay session fees for that. So after you pay your session players, then we move on to the mixing and mastering process of a song. So the mix is one of the most important parts of putting a song together, because that's where you literally mix the song. You have all the ingredients, right? You have the instruments, you have the vocals, and you have the background vocals or whatnot, whatever is in that song. It's all laid out, and the person mixing it, you kind of give them a reference, like, oh, you want this song to sound like this, or you want a song to sound like that song, where maybe the bass is a little bit louder, and in certain sections you want to hear the piano riff, and where the other sections the background vocals need to come out and make it sound like it's actually in your ear, or you want just the drums to only be on the right side of a person's ear when you're wearing earphones. You only want it to be on the right side, and then all of a sudden in this section move it to the left. Like, all those kind of details happen in the mixing process, and it actually takes the longest. People will mix and mix and mix, try different mixes, different ways of making a song sound a certain way with different mix engineers to finally get to a point where, like, actually this is like the perfect way that this song needs to be mixed. So that actually takes a lot of time, and that actually costs a lot, depending on also, you know, the popularity and the demand for that mix engineer. And the final process is the mastering. And the mastering, I was kind of always confused what that difference was in terms of what do they do? Because I'm like, we have it mixed and it sounds great. Like, what else does it need to happen? It was explained to me that at the end, after everything is mixed, that has nothing to do with the volume of your song. So once the mix is right, where you want certain sounds to sound this way, certain instruments to sound louder, or your vocals to sound louder here, and all of that, once that mix is done, it needs to be taken over to the masters, so then they can do the final volumization of your song. And it does make a huge difference. And there's the way that I received my master monitors was equalizer version, and then there's a natural version. So when they put a compressor on your voice, then the louder your voice gets or the higher your voice gets, it kind of compresses your voice so that it doesn't have like too much of a drastic volume difference throughout the whole song. Whereas natural is, there's less compression, so you do kind of feel that like wide range of volume in a song. And so I remember, you know, monitoring it and like finally being at a place where I do understand what the difference is. And so I remember, especially for the first song, Could We Fall in Love Again, I had a few other people monitor the final masters, the equalized version and the natural version, just to kind of get a feel for what other people think. And they were like, you know, I think it's, especially when you're belting at the last chorus, like, it feels better that it's natural and it's not so compressed. So then I was like, oh, more people kind of agree with the way that I'm hearing it as well. So then I finally decided to go with the natural version. I actually went with the natural version for all of them, actually. So yeah, that is kind of the process of how a song is produced and finally released out into the world. And that's just now the music side of the finances that we're talking about. After that, or in the midst of that, you're also having to figure out how you want your album cover to be. That costs money too. But also, again, depending on the people you know and your network, the prices vary. But that's something that you have to consider. You have to pay for your album work cover. And then if you don't want a music video, then you're saving money. But if you do want a music video, and especially for idols, music video is crucial, you know? And for artists like me, sometimes the music video isn't so necessary. So for the first 2 releases, I didn't have a music video. The first song, I had a lyric video. And the second song, I just put out the official audio. I didn't have any type of video with that. And this last song that I released, Playboy, was something where I was like, you know what, the song is so catchy and I think people are going to be listening to it and I want to give them something that's visual. So it was pretty last minute that we decided to do the music video, but we did it. And that obviously made the song cost go much more. Like the budget just kind of skyrocketed because we originally thought we weren't going to have a music video for this song. If I think about all of that, because it's not just one time that I'm paying for the studio. Every time I'm going to record, every time I'm going to the studio, we have to mix, we have to tune, we have to master, we have to make album covers, and we have to make videos or whatnot. And it's for all 3 songs. And I'm with the smaller company. Honestly, the company knows that as well. So I'm like, do we have the yoyu to keep pushing out songs? Because honestly, what I wanted to do was put out a song every month for a year. But I'm 3 months in, and I know the amount of money that it is costing to create this content and make these albums and make these videos. And I'm like, do we have the resource to do this right now? So that's where the communication with the artist and the company is actually really important. And I'm at a place where, we have to have meetings about this. So I want to put out more music for you every month, but I feel like there's going to be a little delay. And these are kind of the reasons why you'll hear about a certain artist having a comeback, but then it gets pushed back and pushed back and pushed back because there's so many factors that kind of factor into whether or not an album can be released. And so hopefully this episode kind of explains to you some of the more technicalities of like the actual making process of the music before it's fully released. So you don't get so angry when some of your favorite idols or your artists, have a delay when they say that they're going to release an album. Because trust me, as an artist, I want it to be out when I say that it's going to be out. And, you want to be a person that keeps your word, but sometimes it's not just me. And it's really hard to do it just me. So when you're working with a team and when the team gets bigger and bigger, there are so many more minds. There are so many other opinions, not just yours. And so it gets complicated. And even with me, the small team that I have, I ran into so many walls with them. And we had so many arguments and we had so many like opposing ways of thinking. It was crazy. I was like, is this why I did not want to join a company? But in the end, I was very thankful because without their help, I wouldn't have been able to pump out 3 songs in 3 months. Like that's not very easy. So I do want to thank my company and the people that helped make all my albums come out thus far. So in the future, I do have more songs that I want to release through this project. I just have to figure out some things, but I'm sure they will get figured out. And I do have like featurings locked in though, and that's another whole process. Locking in featurings or collaborations, because it's not just artist to artist. If the artist is at a certain like level up there and they can call all their own shots, of course it's very easy. But even for me, even though I do know a lot of artists and a lot of companies, again, you're not just working with the person, you're working with that person's company and you're working with that person's company's image and like all these things. So even if we as artists really want to work on a song together, a lot of the times it won't happen because of the company's differences or, it's the timing, because maybe the person that I want featured on my song is releasing something then. And so we can't release it then. We have to find a different time to release it. And it's just the finding the right time to release it together is also another difficult task that needs to be done. And so for me, at least the one featuring that I know that I have locked in, I'm like, yes. It was pretty difficult, but I got it. And so hopefully by, I don't know, the fall or early next year, I'll have more new music for you. And the good thing about that is if I'm not having to work on the music so much, I can actually be on the podcast more often. So it's like a win-win situation in the end, like, because I'm still doing something that I really love and enjoy doing. And I forgot how much fun I had, filming the podcast, but I also forgot how hard it is to do an episode by myself. God, it's been since the last time that I did a solo episode, it's been like 4 months, 3-4 months. So I forgot 이렇게 어색한 거였었구나. 그래서 내가 혼자라도 술을 마신 거야. That's why I would always sip on something by myself. But I drove today, so I can't. But I am going to keep the episode short and sweet. I wanted to just kind of give you guys an update quickly on my music journey that has been happening this year and talk about the process of making those albums. Hopefully it was a little bit educational for you guys. So yeah, please look out for more music because it is coming out, and go and check out all the singles that I have released so far. Could We Fall in Love Again, I Want to Be in Love, and Playboy, all on Spotify and Apple Music and Melon. Go stream the music videos and do the dance challenge for Playboy. All right, I will see you guys when I see you guys with the first episode for season 5. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. See you guys next time. Bye. 노제이지만 똑같은 기분 똑같은 친구 만나 똑같은 things 해 요즘 술도 땡기지도 않아